Hello, today I am going to talk about how to destroy your opponent with Vienna Gambit. If you play e4, this is an opening which is very aggressive and it ensures you to attack chances against e5. Let's start. e4, e5, knight c3 Vienna game. We don't block our pawn with knight because we want to play f4. Knight f6 is a move that we expected. Now we play f4. This is the Vienna Gambit. The Vienna Gambit is easier to play than the King's Gambit and requires less theory. This opening is very flexible. You can play 4 knights. Or just play g3 and play simple chess. As you wish. Let's start with the main moves. After f4, your opponent has several good and bad moves. The first and worst move is e takes f4. This is weird because most people play online chess. However, white has already won the game, but how? Now we play e5 and threaten this knight. As you can see, the knight has to go back. Knight to f3 to prevent queen h4 check. Black plays d6, d4, now our bishop is happy. After d takes e5, never take the e5 pawn because your opponent can trade queens and our attack is over. Don't forget, our main goal is to attack. Just ignore a few pawns. Are we good? Okay, let's go back to the position. Instead of taking the e5 pawn, just pin the pawn with queen to e2. Knight to c6, bishop takes f4. Don't worry, you are still winning. If he takes d4, you take, he takes, you take, and black is in trouble because we have a huge development and threats. After bishop f4, black plays bishop to e7 to prevent the pin. Now we can play d takes e5. Wait, you told me I shouldn't have ever taken that e5 pawn. But there is a difference. Now we play rook to e1 instead of trading queens. Good, after a few moves later all white pieces are ready to attack the opponent's king. How about black? Now here just show your chess skills and win the game. Let's look other bad variations for black. After f4 black plays knight to c6. Now you can take e5, knight takes e5 and d4. Wait. Did you notice something? Please look at that opening. Now it is clear to see, it is like a Halloween gambit but f-pawn turned g1 knight. So, we reached a good position without sacrificing our knight. Now after d4 black has 3 options. The first and worst one is that knight e to f4. Just play e5 and take the knight. The second one is knight g6, push your pawn and develop your pieces. If your opponent is a cannibal and takes d4 pawn, now show is beginning because this is a blunder. Knight g5 sacrifice the other knight. If your knight is taken, there will be checkmate in 5 moves, could you see it? Bishop f7, king e7, rook e1, knight e5, rook takes e5, king f6. Of course you can take the queen but not necessary. Instead just checkmate by sacrificing the rook! King takes e5 and queen e4 checkmate. After d4, the last option is knight to c6. However, it doesn't matter much because the key is to keep developing. If your opponent takes on d4 again, the same tactic applies. If they don't take the pawn now, you can capture it. After knight takes e5, knight takes e5, d takes e5, queen takes d1. I suggest trading queens now because you have a development advantage. But take the queen with the knight because you have pressure on the f7 pawn. After knight to e7, capture the pawn and continue bringing your other pieces into the game. Now I will show you black's good moves. After f4, black plays d6 to protect e5 pawn. Knight f3 we want to take e5 pawn. Knight c6, bishop b5, bishop d7. Don't take this knight to take e5 pawn because black can take e4 pawn. Instead, play d3. Now you are protecting e4 pawn. If he plays a6, takes and we got 1 pawn and have a good position. After knight f3 the best move is bishop g4 to pin the knight. h3, if bishop goes back it will stuck. So, bishop takes f3, queen takes f3, bishop e7, bishop c4, knight c6, and critical move is bishop b5 again. The knight was gonna jump d4 square. Castle, bishop takes c6, b takes c6, f takes e5, d takes e5 and d3. As you can see here, the pawn structure is too bad and you can play on this pawns to get them. The last and the best aggressive option is d5. If you love tactic positions, you will love it. After d5, f takes e5, knight takes e4 and queen f3, an interesting aggressive move. Now black's good move, knight takes c3. You can take with d pawn, out your bishop and long castle. It will give you to attack chances. Or, take the knight with b pawn then play d4 to create an amazing pawn structure. You have a durable position. Now out your pieces and wait for opponent's castle. If he castle short, it is great because all pieces are ready to attack, but if long castle, I recommend you playing opponent's weaknesses instead of checkmate. I assure you it will be hard but fun game. The moves we have given so far are for the knight f6 move. How about knight c6? Like I said, you can still play f4 like King's Gambit or knight f3 and 4 knights. However, I suggest you playing bishop c4. If opponent plays bishop c5, now queen g4 to attack g7 pawn. At chess we should always look for counter-attack. Now black thinks, I will play queen f6 to protect g7 pawn and attack f2. But we have a counter-attack too. Knight d5 is an super mega hyper ultra amazing beta incredible move. Also, after this move, look at the win rates. Why are they so high? Let's look. Queen takes f2, king d1 and bishop is protecting f1 square. In this position, there is just one move for black. It is king f8 but hard to find. Instead, most of people play g6, but it is a blunder. Knight h3. Now there is just one square queen can escape. Queen d4, d3. Look at this position. Threats are everywhere. We want to play c3 and take the queen. So, if he plays king f8, again knight h3, queen d4, d3. There is still c3 by the way. Black plays knight f6 but it is too late. Knight takes, pawn takes. c3 doesn't work, queen can escape to d6. Go for king. Queen h5, knight d8, rook f1, queen d6 to protect f6 pawn. Sorry, not enough. Bishop g5, sacrifice our bishop. F takes, rook takes f7 and checkmate. If he plays knight f6 after you played bishop c4, just develop your pieces and play normal chess. I explained you how to play Vienna Gambit. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to comments and likes.